people. Train them if you don't like them.
Ben. That
Excuse me.
Welcome. We are the MMO 101. We play MMOs and then we grade MMOs, and that's what we're doing tonight. We are grading some MMO. So what we've been doing is we've been playing Project Gorgon for like 9 weeks now, and we have been enjoying it. We started out, I didn't think I was honestly going to like this game. And I thought like it could have been one of those MMOs where we're like week 3, I'm like begging everybody to like make it a couple more weeks. But yeah, we made it 9 weeks, which is pretty good for us. So I think the grading is going to be positive tonight. I think that it's going to be a fun night. So make sure in chat you chime in, tell us what you thought if you've played Project Gorgon, or if you're maybe thinking about picking it up, because we have had a lot of people in the community that have tried Project Gorgon as they've been watching us play. So we love that. We love playing MMOs. We love shining the spotlight on MMOs that don't get that much attention, and that seems to be Project Gorgon. So let's go around the room. We'll introduce our people. First of all, we have Therek, the lore ranger, the master of Jeopardy and all things arrows and swords.
That's right. Yes, I will not be asking any Jeopardy lore questions tonight. Don't worry, even though they were answered well. But yeah, no, I'm excited to be here. We had a good time playing this game. It was a game that we, I think, we're all a little bit on the fence about. We weren't sure exactly what to expect, and I think we all have some pretty interesting stuff to say about it. And you know, at least I do. So I'm looking forward to giving some sharing some thoughts on it.
Very cool. We also have Mr. Nathan Napalm. As of this moment, right now, May. We're still in May.
Well,
what am I doing?
Today was the last day.
May 31st. This is his first official project as a full-time content creator. We are so happy to have him, the Nathan Napalm.
What's up, everybody? As of 6 p.m. today, I am employed by the community.
So make sure you get over there and send him some love.
You just opened yourself up for a whole lot of interesting comments there, Nathan.
We also have Mr. Stands in Fire. He is going with blue now instead of red. I'm not sure how that makes sense, but he is also our math expert. He has calculused this thing up. He has come at it with all the science, all the math, and has boiled it down to one number so we can understand Stands in Fire.
Draq is going to be so disappointed in my methodology on this one.
And we also have Sparoh. Last but not least, Sparoh. She is our MMO mom. Don't curse around her.
God, Draq,
Now, wait a minute. I don't know about this, because if I remember correctly, Sparoh is the one that kind of got the cringe pony started. So I'm just saying.
Oh, did I?
I think that was her fault.
Could be. So I'm excited to be grading this one. It was a surprise game for me as well. It kind of warmed its way into my heart. It's an interesting game. So lots of good things to say.
Awesome. Also in chat we have Cryptfox. He couldn't join us tonight. He's got a paper to write, but we're going to read his grades off too. So he's been playing the whole time with us, so that's cool as well.
And don't forget Tetsu as well.
And
I've got
Tetsu.
Tetsu's grades, and I'm gonna share his grades and thoughts on the game.
Tetsu was on a beach somewhere, drinking drinks with little umbrellas in it and having a fantastic time. So we
I'm a little disappointed that he's not live streaming on his phone, into the Twitch.
That would have been nice.
Did you see that beach picture? I don't think I would be here either. You guys are
at least check in with us. At least check in and make us jealous or something.
You guys are on your own.
Oh, I like byproducts. MMORPG.
MMORPG. Oh man, that's
pretty good.
Oh, Sparoh, you're not going to live that one down for a while.
That's awesome. All right, well, let's get into this thing. I'm going to read the categories off first, and then we've got our new little grid here tonight. We've come up with a new look for the grading. I think it's going to be super fun. Everybody's going to like it, hopefully. So first we have grouping and rating. That's and then questing. Then next we have classes, spells, and skills, player versus player, sound and graphics, cash shop / monetization, lore immersion, and addictability / fun. And then of course we have the final overall grade. And the final overall grade doesn't necessarily have to be like an average of the grades that we give, just what you thought of the game overall. All right, so let's all start it off with grouping / rating. And I gave that a B. I really liked once I got into it, I really liked the grouping / rating. The only really, like, we had tons of fun and we ran around in a full group the entire time. I think every stream we had a full group. And we found content that we could do. We found content that wiped us. That's all the things that I'm looking for in a group. The only part that grouping for me is like really tight, and like there's this very fine line that you can't cross, because for me it felt like one that, like, when we were experiencing when we were in group content, I wasn't getting as much experience as I was when I was just going out by myself. Like, I could level way faster by myself than in the group, and I don't like to play. I like it to be the reverse of that. I like the group content should be the stuff that is focused on, and so I should get the most experience for that, and I should get less experience for being by myself. And I don't mind being able to solo, but it shouldn't be a superior experience to grouping. And for me, that's a big deal. And you could totally play this game solo the whole way. And so that, for me, it edges into, well, I'm just playing this thing. I'm a single player in an MMO world, and I don't really make that big of a difference. I like the need to group and the encouragement to group, and when I group, I am given bonuses because I've made the effort to form a group. So that, for me, is why it gets a B. It gets a B. On the good side, though, we had a ton of fun. It was a total blast pulling and playing with everybody. Some of the games we've gotten together and the grouping has just not been fun. But this was very, very fun. So let me go through Crypts here real quick. Cryptfox gave it a C. He says the majority of the game can be done without grouping. Dungeons as well, but only to a point. Must have a group for bosses and exploration. Yeah, I guess some of the bosses you probably couldn't have soloed. But yeah, all the content and definitely leveling up your skills definitely could have also totally been done solo. All right, so I'll pass it to Therek. Grouping / rating. We didn't do any rating. I don't even think there's rating in this game. I think maximum content's grouping. Is that correct?
Well, they had a 50-person something, so I would assume they have some sort of rating. Remember that? There was like an update while we were playing for a new 50.
Oh, right.
people.
Yeah, it was on the splash screen for a little while.
And
Right.
they had the kind of zone events that were made for tons of people.
Yeah, it's funny, Draq. I have actually in my notes, does this game even have raid level content? So I was thinking exactly the same thing. And, remember when we would be in the dungeons and you get close to the boss and those words would come up on the screen, warning, this and that and the other? I actually had that in my list of negatives because I thought that was kind of stupid. But, it's funny you say, like, you felt like this was another one of those games that was designed as from a solo player with grouping is optional. I actually found this more on the group end spectrum from all the other games we've played. I felt like there was a lot of group content in this game. Like, every dungeon is basically a group dungeon. I don't think I experienced any solo dungeons. I feel like it was easier for us to find group content in this game. Like, we never struggled to be like, oh, we have to get to this level to make a group dungeon. Like, there was quite a bit of stuff that we did, just at the same levels, like between 20 and our skill levels being between like 15 and 30, because I don't think we ever exceeded that, or, most of us didn't. So I found like the group content was actually refreshingly abundant in this game, I guess is what I'm trying to say. The dungeons were difficult. And the group size, for us as being a six-person group, I thought was really nice, right? That's not something we get in every game, so that's a good thing. Yeah, I don't know. I felt like our groups were nice and balanced, although there weren't, the group mechanics from us as players, but we'll get into like skills and abilities and stuff more about this. But it was not great in terms of class interdependency, I found. But overall, I mean, I think this game is designed with a group in mind, and I think that's enough for me to. I gave it an A- because I really liked the philosophy that I think this game has. So I was very positive about the grouping and the grouping that we did anyway.
So Tetsu?
Yeah, so Tetsu says the positives: grouping menus are easy to navigate. Shared dungeons help incentivize cooperation between parties and raids. And then the negative: lack of clear role identity makes grouping feel like a mishmash, and free-for-all abilities being thrown out. Multiple groups feels like zerging, which I totally agree with that. I think
We
that's
did
a
do
good
that
point.
too.
Yep.
Yeah.
We had
Yeah.
6, and then we had a 7th that just trailed along and like went with us.
Yeah, I ran along as a buff bot and heal bot on multiple runs through, and it just like, all right, cool. We're just zerging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even with that, it was still difficult. We still had
Right.
trouble with some stuff, which
Yeah,
I kind of like.
especially that time that I didn't level up in between, and both healers were just like,
We had the level
Heal,
14
heal.
cleric tanking for the 25s.
Yeah, when our
Or the-
tank had less hit points than our wizard, yeah, that was
right.
bad scene.
That was rough.
So Tetsu gave it a D-. He didn't care for the grouping.
Ouch.
All right, Mr. Nathan Napalm.
So I had a lot of fun. First of all, I felt like it felt like an old school type experience of grouping up and going and hitting up all these dungeons. And like Therek said, there were so many different. I mean, we did so many things, and the dungeons were really big, and we were able to explore them pretty good. I mean, I feel like there's just not enough public dungeons in MMOs, period. And this has that. And it was really cool, all the interactions we had. We saved the people from the deers and from being deers. And we met random people that helped us and got us out of trouble. And we tried to help them and got them in more trouble. And all the fun stuff that makes public dungeons really addictive and cool was there. So the only problem I have with the grouping is much like what Tetsu was talking about. It's that there's no real feeling of like, I'm this class and that means this or that. Everything's just kind of, you are whatever you've, unlocked and leveled up and etc. So that's the only reason, because I feel like when you're doing a game for really tight on grouping, that you've got to have those classes so that everybody feels a role and is proud of what they're doing, etc. And in my opinion, that's the only thing that really hurts it. So I gave it a B-. Or wait a minute, I don't remember. Hang on. I gave it a B+. A B+.
Nathan,
Yes.
pro streamer.
All right, let's break down the math. Stands and fire. Let's go.
All right. So like a lot of everybody else said, my thoughts on grouping in this game are that when it clicked, it worked really well and it was fun going through stuff, but not to the exclusion of anything else or any more than playing with all of these people and just about anything would be. It was fun, but we were fighting the UI. We were fighting the kind of, do we have the mix of stuff we need, or are we just zerging and bulldozing our way through groups of mobs? So I gave it a C-. Grouping was fun, less because of the game and more because playing with friends is fun. And to a large extent, we found stuff that we could do to have fun in a group.
Yeah.
I loved that it was there, but it wasn't. It was us fighting a lot of design elements to progress.
Yeah, I think a lot of the comments that I'm hearing from you guys in terms of the negative stuff is there's a lot of crossover with the classes, skills, and spells area on the grading, and I think a lot of what you guys are saying are some of the things I said in that.
I think we're going to get to that.
Yeah, because I'm agreeing with a lot of the stuff you and Nathan and Stan, what you guys are saying. Like, definitely like missing that element of, yeah, I'm in a group, but does it really mean anything? Like it could be anybody in this group. I mean, other than the dynamic of friendship and the dynamic of personalities, from a mechanics standpoint of what we were doing with our characters, it really could have been anything.
And the real core reason why I factored that more into grouping than classes, skills, and abilities was because when playing solo, the impact felt so much smaller of the way that worked. Whereas in the group, that kind of vagueness really was exacerbated.
Hmm.
Bindini says it would have been an A+ if he would have been in the game.
I mean, solid C plus.
I said at least an A minus.
Or,
I don't know about the plus, but it would have been an A minus at least. He's grade A, dude.
All right.
Yeah.
Sparrow. Oh, sorry. I thought keep
Go
going,
ahead,
Stans.
yeah.
No, I just wanted to make the point because I know we're starting to have some more people filter in, and I think we're going to see some of the Project Gorgon people coming in as well because we've had a lot of them have shown up. Regardless of if any of us have negative things that we're saying about certain aspects of the game, we loved, I think, overall our time playing the game. We loved the community and just the welcome we got here. So please, if you're a Project Gorgon person, and you watch us fumble our way through this game over time, grain of salt. We're gonna nitpick stuff because it's what we do. Please don't take any of it personally. We loved the people who came out for these streams to interact with us.
Yeah,
Right.
and stick to the final grade too,
Right.
because
And Project Gorgon totally exceeded all my expectations. All of
oh,
them.
me too.
Every
Yeah,
single
and
one.
I had played it quite a bit before, and they've done a lot since then, so I was very impressed.
Sparrow.
So for grouping and rating, I actually, a lot of the things that you guys were talking about on the negative side, I kind of put down with classes, spells, skills, that kind of thing. So for me, the grouping, I loved that every week I was looking forward to group content. We didn't have to strive to find where are we going to group, what are we going to do together. There was always content that was fun, engaging, challenging. Even when we were in a group, it still had a good exploration feel. You could go overland and still, like when we went through the cold zone, when you had to have
That
the
was
fires
super
and
fun.
stuff, super fun, super challenging, and overland content, perfect. So, what else? The dungeons were dangerous and challenging. The only negative I'd say in grouping is the larger amount of mobs. The targeting was really wonky, trying to get to different mobs and assist, and that's the only thing I kind of felt that I didn't care for it. But overall, this category, I'm going with an A+ because I really had fun grouping.
Oh, hold on.
Nice.
Last minute edit.
Oh,
Draq needs to sneak
Yeah.
the plus in.
thank you.
Apparently I didn't get that right.
Sparrow
All right.
updated her grade as she was talking about it.
Hey, I got screenshots here.
Got proof.
Awesome. Well, overall, those are pretty good grades. I mean, we have definitely had worse grades than that. So let's move on to questing. A very big part of the game. We all love to quest. We all love getting the quests. We don't want the fetch quests. We want in-depth. We want reasons to be doing the quest. So let me switch back over to my sheet here. I have it at a B. Questing for me was a B. I felt like some of the quests were super fun, and some of it was engaging. There was some fetch quests, but there's always fetch quests in MMOs. I didn't feel like it. I don't know. For me, it didn't live exclusively in fetch quest land. The thing that gets me with this game is that crafting seems to be involved in everything. And I couldn't do quests unless I crafted, and I'm sitting there growing flowers to push myself down the road. And I don't like that mechanic at all. I don't feel like I don't want to be a baker. so I can so I can grow my character or complete quests or whatever. And I know, and maybe it's just like we weren't in the community quite enough to where I could have relied on my friends to, I don't know, provide that stuff for me. I don't know. It just felt like it was always holding me back, the fact that I didn't really want to craft. So for me, it was a B. Still a good grade, but yeah, the crafting was a little bit of an issue. And let's go to Cryptfox here. So Cryptfox gave the questing a C. Quests are challenging at times, but the majority are simple quests. So, Therek.
Yeah, so I liked how the questing was written in this game. I found them very creative and sort of, they weren't cookie cutter. They weren't the fetch quests, but they also weren't just your typical, cut and paste, copy paste type of questing. I found that they did a good job. There were some puzzles involved in some of them. Like there was that one, the very first dungeon we did on the first night we played it. There was like that quest where you had to you found a note on a goblin, and then there was like a lever to pull, something else, and there was like 6 other things to do. I don't know if you guys remember that one, but I love stuff like that. Like that is my kind of questing, right? Because it's in the world, it's involved, it requires reading some a little bit of lore. It doesn't have to be extensive, but there's something involved with it, and I like that kind of questing. And so many games, like you said, Draq, these days just live in that fetch quest zone where they can't get out of it, and it's so easy to implement that they use it that way, and I hate that. The quest journal, we got to talk about the quest journal because it allowed you to take your own notes. So when you were doing quests, even on the tutorial island, like that. there was the quest with the
pillars,
something, yeah,
the combination, the 4-digit combo.
Yes, and that one too. Yeah, and you actually had to make a note and keep notes on it. I love that. I wish more games did that. So that alone is going to bump this up a whole grade for me. They were pretty consistent in terms of the tone of the quests. It went well with the lore of the game, although when we get to the lore, I'll talk about whether that's a good thing or not. But I appreciate the consistency. There's too much fourth wall breaking in the dialogue when it comes to the questing in this game. They don't stay in their own world. They sort of sneak into like the real world stuff. And, it's, again, I'll talk about it in the lore section, but it just completely breaks you out of it sometimes. So I did not enjoy that. So, the good, the bad, I gave it a B- overall, but I feel a little bit more positive than a B-, but I'm going to stick with that.
Tetsu?
Oh, and for Tetsu, he said, quests are entertaining and lighthearted, so that was a positive. The negative is more direction. Not saying exclamation points would be helpful. He said they lack a sense of gravity. I can agree with that. That lack of sense of gravity. I felt like there was just everything in this game lacks a sense of gravity. It's so silly sometimes, and that's not my speed, but it's fine.
Yeah. Mr. Nathan Napalm.
Yeah, I thought the questing was the kind of freeform kind of situation where it was just like, we're not trying to like force you to find this quest. You either find it or you don't. And they'd be out in the world, and we found that orb, and it turned out that was a quest, and you had to answer the questions right, or it would kill you.
That was a great moment. That was such a great moment, Nathan.
Super cool. And there's a bunch of those in the game, and I don't know if you guys noticed this. For people, they also had some quests that were simpler. Like, I'm sure you guys ran into it when we were in between sessions, but like if you kill a bunch of the same thing, you just automatically get the option, take a quest to kill so many of those to get extra experience, right? Yep. So I felt like there was a good mixture of like, go out in the world, find a quest, which is what I like. We're not going to hold your hand and tell you where they're at. And I really like also, it's one of those things that Pantheon talks about, not to the same extent, but like, there'll be certain abilities you need to find out in the world, right? And to get the shield, I had to go meet this guy in this random zone in this inn or whatever it was and talk to him and make him like me so that I could get the shield abilities that I wanted to main in. And I thought that was pretty cool. Like, I went on this whole little adventure on my own just so I could do shields for our next stream. So overall, I thought they were pretty good. I do agree also, though, that they're too quirky, right? And that's my main complaint with this game. Why I didn't get into it before was, it sometimes comes across as like a 13-year-old trying to be edgy kind of feeling with the
all random wacky.
Yeah, like real wacky and just quirky. Sometimes it's funny. Sometimes it's kind of like, you know. But overall, the way they've designed everything, I was super impressed with. So I gave it an A-.
Nice.
Mr. Stands and Fire.
So yeah, I definitely wanted to also highlight one of the quests that Nathan mentioned, which is where we found the happy, fun blood and fire orb that wanted us to bring him head.
Yeah.
Was a great example of quests done well in a system like this. That was absolutely a high point of finding something that was out in the world, had some neat twists, and fit everything really well. So it definitely gets points there. And also, like you said, I like the fact that they make use of emergent quests out in the world for kill chains. I'm not entirely certain whether I like the fact that it was find and kill random mob of type X that has the little crown over its head to start the quest, as opposed to just being a normal emergent quest. Yeah. So I go back and forth on that. The problem I had was that there was so much of just basic quest design stuff we've seen over and over again, and it was kind of wrapped up in the, well, it's doing favors, it's not quests. And it was just talking to NPCs to do quests. And very few of them were really well designed or involved, unless they were the ones that you found occasionally out in the world. Another thing that really bothered me about that, and it is actually why I gave this such a low grade, is because when you would have jerk NPC in town A, and the favor he wanted you to do, the quest, let's just call them quests, please. It's a quest. You're going on a quest for an NPC. Was to go talk to and deliver something to an NPC that they know well. They tell you the town that they're in or the place they are. They'll describe it to you. They might even describe landmarks, but they refuse to mark it on your map. We are a map-using society. Even like how far back you go, we carry maps around with us. Maps are a thing. The fact that if somebody knows exactly where the person that they're trying to send us to is and how to get there, and can't say, hey, can I see your map for a second? Oh yeah, it's right here. I'm not going to fill in your map with everything around it, but head down this road here. This is it right here. And there was so much of that where it's a slavish devotion to an old school design principle for the sake of having that design principle rather than logic, sense, and world building. That annoys the hell out of me. Because you can see what they were trying to do. It just doesn't freaking work. So I gave it a D.
Yeah. I don't know if I would want them to put a marker on the map for me. I kind of liked it. I mean, if you looked in the quest journal, it told you where it was. Like it told you what zone the quest, was going to. And I feel like when you can explore the map and put your own markers on it, that sort of helps their case a little bit too. But I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, but again, not if it's someplace where you've walked up to a dude in a town and said, hey, can you go to place X? Yeah. And he doesn't know if you've been there before or not.
Aren't we still in the land of no map at all for Pantheon? Isn't that our latest update?
Yeah, but that's different. No. But it is still different because in that case, you wouldn't have a map for him to mark, right? Like okay. That's assuming that they just don't do that kind of thing. But in this case,
this is something where we know our adventurers are carrying a map because we can make our own notes on it and explore it as we go. Yeah.
Oh,
It
my
irks me.
goodness. All right, Sparoh.
All right. There were a lot of quests. A lot of them were those kill quests. I did like those in the sense that many times I was out on my own just to level up skills, and those were really handy. You're out there killing mobs anyway. I get excited. Oh, there's one with a crown. I'm gonna go kill those because I'm gonna get like 250 XP or whatever it was for both of my skills. So I did like that overall. I did like the language papers where you would level up the skill to learn a language or whatever, like those goblin papers. I kind of consider those quests because you have to go out and kill things and level up that skill. I don't think I liked so much that every single thing had a skill, like dying even. So I don't know if I liked having to level up all those skills by going out questing, doing those kinds of things.
Crafting.
Crafting, exactly. It didn't seem to fit in with the I'm just trying to level these skills, right?
Yeah.
Where it lost a lot of points for me, and this is kind of just my own personal take, is I didn't appreciate the overtly like sexual nature of a lot of the quests. That's a personal thing, but it was in like NPC dialogue while we're walking by. It was for my bard quest. I mean, I literally, if I wanted to gain faction with the bard guy, you could hang out and be intimate with this guy to gain faction. I'm like, that just makes me personally uncomfortable. Like, I don't want to do that with my character because a lot of people, they relate to their character. It's a character. It's not just a tune, right? You're like, you make yourself in the game. So it lost a lot of points there.
Unless you're forced to play something that you're not wanting to be. Sorry,
Don't start this, Nathan.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
You killed that NPC fair and
You
square.
did it all on your own, Nathan. You were vindictive and you were evil, and we have it all on stream.
Addictive paladin.
Besides that, okay, she's right. Besides that, right.
So that's where it lost points for me in the questing. So I'm going with a C, kind of middle of the road. I'll give it a C.
Can I just say something real quick? I had no idea about the crowns.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I just thought I was randomly getting them. No one told me. I didn't pick it up. No one told me.
The crowns over their head were what told you if that was going to be a mob that started that or
killing
not.
random mobs, and I'd get it every once in a while, and I was like, oh, that's cool.
I felt like that was like a modern design thing sort of creeping into their game a little bit, right? Because it seemed out of place. It didn't seem like it fit very well.
It was added later, yeah.
Yeah.
It was weirdly not entirely in keeping with a lot of their other stuff. And that's why I had that as I'm not sure how I feel about this.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
I like the XP that came with it.
Yeah.
I love the fact that they gave us those emergent kill quests. It works with the design of the game. I just don't think we needed the crowns for it.
Yeah.
Maybe. Mm-hmm.
For sure. All right. Classes, spells, and skills. All right, so this is the big one. This is the
Right.
This is the big one.
Yeah.
Everybody hang on tight.
I mean, dude, MMO means I have a class. I mean, it just does. I'm sorry. I can't get away from it. I can't not talk about it. I know everybody's probably going to talk about it too, but I can't. There's no get. It's the semi driving straight down the road in the wrong direction. If it's an MMORPG, I expect to have a class. I don't like the classless stuff. I just don't like it. I want to be a class. I want to know who and what I am. I'm going in a direction. Yes, my class has options. I make myself different from other people in my class, but my class is class, and I don't want the weirdness of just like, oh, well, I do this, and I do this, and I'm some of this and some of that, and whatever. And it just makes it feel bleh to me. And honestly, that it was the singular reason that I never tried this game on my own. Like, I would have totally bought it. I would have totally played it all on my own had it had classes. But I was like, nope, I'm not doing the classless thing. I'm not doing it. So it took like a year later before we all got into it, before I even tried the game out, because I don't like classless systems. And I know there's other MMOs out there, and everybody likes their own deal. It is just not me. I got to have a class. I got to have, this is who I am. Beyond that, I did like the fire skill set was super fun. It was the skills were fun. It was engaging. I liked learning the fire skills. I liked collecting the stuff to get the updates. All that stuff was really well done. I thought it was excellent. But I just can't get over not having a class. So I did give it a higher grade. But it could have been an A+ had it not been for not having classes. Hold on, let's go to Cryptfox. Cryptfox gave it a B. He said no traditional select class, then level up, but unlocking skills, which are the classes, was very fun. I would also say that I had way more fun leveling up my skills than I thought I would. In comparison to other games where I don't have a class, this was definitely the funnest one of those that I've ever played. There.
Yeah. I have a lot of the same thoughts, Draq, but the good things about this, I found, you're basically pretty free form to create whatever character you want, which, has its advantages. So you can get pretty interesting with some combinations. You can really sort of make it your own. There's a lot of skills. There's good variety, and it's hard to be unique. It's hard to do, new things in the MMO genre. And I find that this game did some kind of cool things with their skills and abilities and how you sort of build your character. And the items had like characteristics to them that worked well with those skills. So that's the good. The bad, of course, like you say, no classes means to me no identity. You don't have a community with that class, so you can't like discuss, there's no warrior community to talk about the warrior skills and abilities with. There's no real feeling of belonging or like, progression or discussion that goes on with that kind of thing. I cannot believe that we were doing dungeons without a res ability in the first little while there. And I know we looked into it. I don't think it was an oversight on our part, but that's insane. Like in a game like this, to not being able to res one of your characters when one person dies, it's basically everybody has to go back to the beginning of the dungeon and get back to that spot. I'm sure there's something down the road, but you've got to put that in super early, and you cannot wait that long, because that was a complete game killer for us, I think, or at least for me. Really took so much of the fun out of the game. Again, overlap with the first discussion we had. I felt that the combat wasn't well constructed. The elements are there. It's sort of like the ingredients are there, but it needs a lot more time in the oven. And somebody in chat mentioned earlier, and we should point it out, that this game is early access, that kind of thing for sure. But I don't know if they're like, I don't know how much of a focus there is on a tactical approach to combat in this game was really, is that something that they're going to do? Is that something that they're working on? I don't know. Speaking from a ranged perspective in terms of my class, using ranged and swords, I found that you had to use certain types of arrows for certain range skills. I didn't like that at all, because I didn't always have the right type of arrow for that type of range ability, which was annoying. Again, like you said, Draq, a lot of this comes in service of the crafting system in this game, and that I think is a detriment to it. There's too much reliance on you're going to craft at least a little bit, or you're going to know somebody who does craft to make some of your basic stuff work. I think that doesn't work well. And then lastly, I'll just say, some of the skills are unique. The death, you gain level up in death is just kind of memeish. I don't find it's not useful at all. It's just kind of stupid.
Yeah, was there anything we gained with leveling up death?
I
The
believe-
ability to unlock the necro skill line.
Okay.
Yep. I think that was it. That's all that I knew about anyway.
Yeah. So, I mean, okay. But again, for anybody who doesn't want to be a necro, like I don't know. It just felt like a lot of it was just like there for the sake of being there. So again, breaking that fourth wall. I gave it a D overall, because I found that this was a weak part of the game. Now, in terms of what Tetsu said about it, he said, so the positive was that a lot of the spells made sense for him and what he was working on. I know Tetsu was working on sort of similar stuff to what I was doing, some ranged and the sword skill as well. And then they said negatively, admittedly, I prefer class-based MMOs and only ability skill-based MMORPGs, while encouraging freedom because a lack of direction when creating it causes a lack of direction when creating a persona. So you don't really lock into anything. So yeah, some similar things to what we've said, and I think we're sort of on the same page. He gave it a D-.
Draco Greyhawk just said that leveling death gave you the ability to enter the light. I don't know what that means.
Oh,
Yeah.
remember
Yep.
that thing
Yeah.
you do when you die? Because we used to not have it, and then suddenly we
Oh,
all
where you
kinda
could warp
think
to the
we fell
casino?
for it. Yeah, basically, yeah.
I never even clicked on that. Is that what it
No,
did?
me
It took you to
neither.
the casino?
The afterlife
I-
takes the casino.
I did enter the light, and I ended up in the Yeti caves
What?
at a point in time where I had no business being in the Yeti caves.
Oh boy.
Is it just random? Does
Yeah,
it just take you to a
We
random
basically
place?
just learned don't enter the light.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Like,
what we did
basically
because
the lesson
we had
learned.
no idea what we were doing, so we just never entered
Yeah.
the light.
You almost had to like
Yeah.
glitch your way out of there. It felt like too. Like
Yeah.
That was
wasn't it?
weird.
Like, yeah.
And Draco Greyhawk in chat said, "Sucks, no quivers, 100%, man. Got to have my quiver. I had like 4 stacks of arrows in inventory. Oh, nobody said the inventory yet, but
Oh,
my God.
dude, I totally forgot that inventory management was such a
Yeah,
nightmare.
where should that
What
go in though?
I, don't
I had it in the
know.
first part and I didn't mention it.
Dude,
Yeah, 'cause that's not good.
I don't like leaving stuff on corpses.
No.
No,
And it
that
felt really
weird.
it felt bad. Like it really did. Like I don't like to have to choose what I want to loot. I want to loot within a reasonable amount of time. I want to loot all this stuff, go back to town and sell. But
Yeah.
that's not the way it was. You couldn't I mean unless you just wanted to just be constantly running.
Yeah.
Where were we? Stans.
Nathan.
Or Nathan, you
I
done?
Nathan.
No, Nathan
got-
hasn't gone yet.
No,
Yeah.
Tetsu technically just went,
Oh,
right?
Tetsu.
Yeah.
Oh no.
You flipped Nathan's grade during Tetsu's talk.
Pay no attention. Pay no attention to that grade. Nathan, sorry.
No problem. So, I mean, obviously, you guys have mentioned a lot of the things. I mean, the healer situation was like really bothersome to me because I couldn't even pretend I was a paladin because I had to wait to like level freaking on like, you know, like skilling up things like the first aid or whatever. That's all I really had was just first aid and was pretending that was my pally heal. I just want to say it like this, like not having classes, and I get where it comes from, right? Like Ultima Online did a classes system. I know there's, I assume the Asheron's Call did the same thing, which is the inspiration for this game. Totally get it. I know there's people out there for it. But for me, to me, it feels like when I have to play a classless game, like I grew up my whole life wanting to be a firefighter. And then I finally get a job as a firefighter, and they're like, here's an axe. You're going to put out fires. Can't call yourself a firefighter, though. You're just, you do these things. That's what you do. But you can't say you're a firefighter. It's like, well, you just took the joy out of like, that's what I like, though. Like, well, you can pretend to be one. You're not really one. And it's like, why are you doing that to me? Like, why can't I just be what I want to be? That's how I feel about it. So, it's always just a bummer when I can't just be what I want to be, So that's the only thing that really hurts it. I did think that the way that they did the skill ups and all that kind of thing was fun. I never get as much enjoyment out of getting a skill up as I do as a level up, obviously. But I felt like they
Yes.
came pretty close with the way how you pick 2. It put them right there and you could kind of watch them, and it was close. But once again, there's hybrid classes that I just don't feel like you can really experience with the system that they have, since you can only really focus on 2, right? With the leveling up pace. So I gave it a C.
Also, I forgot about this. Maybe I'm stealing Stan's thunder here, but was it me or were the animal skills a little weird? Like where you become the animal? Was that weird? That was a little weird to me.
A little quirky.
I
Yeah.
never did that.
Where you can
Yeah, I
become
never
all
went down
these
that
things.
A
cows and
little
pigs.
weird, but also, mini tangent here. The reason those are in the game in the first place is because players were accidentally or as part of quest lines being polymorphed into animals.
Right, like the
and
deer thing.
deciding that they liked the fact that they could run around in that shape and wanted to say, hey, can I just like stay a cow? Can I stay a wolf or whatever? And the developers actually just ran with that feedback and said, all right, cool, we're going to make skill lines for this. So there's a part of my brain that says, "Oh, that's cool."
Yeah.
I mean,
I
sometimes
do
it just
think
feels
it's cool. Yeah, when you're just in town, though, and there's like 500 people and they're cows and pigs, and I don't know.
And there's a spider jumping up and down on top of the well.
At some
it's just
point,
weird, man.
at
It's hard
some
to take
point,
it
they
seriously.
needed an MMO mom to come along and say,
What?
No.
Sparoh, you need to get hired by that company to work on their game there. They need some
Sure.
direction.
Nathan, you done?
Yep, that's it. I'm
Perfect.
done.
Stands of fire.
All right. So anytime you say classless MMO and skill-based MMO, like you are making a line in the sand that is going to be divisive, as we have seen with the previous comments here. I'm going to go on record as saying I am entirely fine conceptually with skill-based or classless MMOs. One of my all-time favorite MMOs is, or I should say was, The Secret World, which did not have classes. Your abilities were based on the 2 weapons you had equipped and the active and passive skills you had leveled into purchasing to make your build. That absolutely can work if you have the full base tool set of some form or another to perform your roles accessible at the beginning or early on in the choices that you've made. In The Secret World, if I picked the assault rifle as my primary weapon, I knew that if I was focusing on anima shots, right from the beginning, I had the core building block of my leeching health-based healer. And if I was focusing on ranged burst shots, I had the core gameplay-focused piece of my ranged damage dealer and support. Even with just the bare minimum of a skill line barely unlocked and an ability or 2, you had the identity of what it was going to be as you progress through it. So it can be done well. I just think it is half-baked in Project Gorgon.
Yeah.
It's some good ideas, and I love some of the things. It just doesn't feel like your tool set is present until you have way too much investment in a skill set to know, is this really what I want? And
It's
they
trying to be able to at least pick between some basic skills at the very beginning.
Right at the beginning.
Now that you're saying that, I'm thinking about that.
Dude, that totally would have made it 100% better for me.
It would be like the armory in The Secret World, where as part of the introductory tutorial thing, you are going through and you're like, hey, let me try an assault rifle, let me try a sword, let me try a hammer. Oh, cool. This is what I want to start with. I'm going to have to unlock a whole bunch of stuff down the road.
100%.
But I know what this is going to feel like, and I can start with what I want.
But they went 100% the other way. They're all like, let's lock Priest behind level 50.
Yeah, dude.
I know, right?
No, that's awful.
And not only that, the fact that it is a skill A plus skill B making your build, but the weapons and equipment required for some of those skill lines would lock you out of other skill lines. So there was a lot of hidden trap builds that you couldn't actually do. So it was not even a fully freeform and flexible system. So my grading here is a C+. A lot of the skills felt interesting and cool. There were some cool skill lines. It just wasn't quite there, but it was fun.
It was fun. Sparoh.
Right. A lot of what Stan said resonated with what I had like notes and stuff. So I'm not going to go over that again. Just very much that I'm not against classless systems if you have choices when you're first starting out, or at least a way to become those things as you're going along and you know how to. Like we had a guild member. She is always a druid and she couldn't be a druid. It drove her nuts that she had to go out and, I don't know, become a fox or something.
Yeah, she did enjoy her time as a fox.
Right. When she got there, she enjoyed it. So the classes are interesting. They are a good identity, but it's so hard. And like Draq said, priest is what, 50? So I don't like how things are locked behind other things. What else? I did enjoy the class that I ended up with, the classes. I went with Bard and Animal Handler, and I did have a lot of fun. I enjoyed leveling the pets. I would have liked to have more of a variety of pets. I felt like I was kind of just stuck with the rat the whole time, and I was very nicely gifted a bee, but I wouldn't have been able to get the bee on my own. So I would have just had the rat the whole time. Unless I did some maybe research and figured out, I know there was a tiger or something that Stan's had.
Yep.
So that would have been cool to maybe have more ability to get different pets. Having to res the pets was annoying. First of all, I had to get first aid up. And then once that was finally up, I realized it doesn't even work.
Work
most
that
of the
crafting.
time.
Work that crafting.
I would use like 8 of the good res first aid things, and it might not res my pet. So you're in the middle trying to, and then you'd run out, and then you have no pet.
All right, cool. I just burned 40 good healing kits.
Right. So that was annoying. I would have preferred to just have a res ability, even if it was on a long cooldown or something. And the skill to get the first aid, I found it just took too long. We did eventually get it, but I found it an annoying thing to have to get that up.
There was no, with first aid specifically, there was no like clear explanation until somebody that had played the game before came in and explained us like how to level it up. Like you couldn't just use first aid on yourself to level it up. You had to do it in combat. So it was weird. And it was like, well, how are we supposed to know that?
Yeah. And I had a glitch where I had to switch different levels of the ability and like into and out of my bar before it would start actually working in combat. And I'm not sure if that's because I had leveled the skill by gaining favor with the NPC who kept giving me ranks in the skill without actually using it, and that glitched it.
Yeah, I had some glitch. I never figured out what it was, so maybe that's what it was. I had to take it out.
You know, before we move on next thing, I just want to say real quick, Nefel, if you're out there and you're listening, please, for the love of God, do not lock adventuring type things behind crafting. That, like, you want to talk about, like,
stab me.
That there's nothing worse. There's nothing worse.
Nothing.
Those are two totally different things. They should never, besides like, hey, because I'm an adventurer and I broke this, I want this axe that you can make and I need it to go do this thing I want to do. That's the only cross there should be. There should never be like, oh, I want to be this. I want to be able to do this in my class that has to do with fighting things, but I have to craft things to do. Like, that's disgusting. That's vomit worthy.
The only other thing I'd criticize is that, and constructive criticism, not like horrible criticism, is that I found running out of mana as a bard and a pet class, I'd often be standing around because I couldn't get mana. Either my mana thing was down from using it 5 seconds before or whatever, but I felt pretty useless after I ran out of mana. Especially if your pet was dead. You are completely useless at that point.
You can end up having unwittingly combined 2 skill lines that neither one of which has a basic attack.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Whoops.
Yeah. Whoops, exactly. So it got kind of boring when I was out of mana.
I was just hanging out in the back.
I was just playing my heal song, standing there because I have no mana and no weapon to just whack things with. Because I had a horn and a what was the other one? Drum?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't feel very good.
Yeah. So grade I went with a C.
All right. Well, the next one's an easy one. We all gave it the exact same grade. we don't look at each other's grades when we do these, by the way, in case anyone's wondering. We don't share our answers, but everybody, there is, as far as I'm aware, there is no PvP in Project Gorgon. So
not that we saw.
No, I don't think there is, because I seen an official thing, because I wanted to check, and it was saying like this isn't really a PvP type game. Blah blah blah. It's PvE.
And I think that's good. Given the scope of their project, Focus on what's in front of you.
That's
Yeah.
what I was going to say.
It's a
actually.
great decision.
A no grade here is a good grade, actually.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't like PvP
Yes.
mostly.
Yeah, for this crowd, I mean, you probably don't want to be graded on that anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I didn't see. I actually tried to duel someone and it didn't work. So either I didn't do it right or that's not even in the game.
Well, did Cryptfox duel anybody?
No, he put on his.
It's not in the
did
game. Then.
experience PvP.
It's not in the game. Then
Our PvP master did not find PvP. So,
Yep.
all right. Should we move on to graphics?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
So that's
Graphics, sound and graphics. I really liked it. I'm not a huge graphics guy. Like, I don't need the Unreal Engine 97 to like enjoy the games I play. And this game is made in Unity, the same engine that Pantheon will be made in. And I think Pantheon's going to look a lot better than what Project Gorgon will, but I like the graphics in Project Gorgon. It was they were totally acceptable to me. And also the sound, the music was really good. I really liked the bard music. It was super catchy. The dungeon music when we hit the bosses was different and catchy, and like just the way they did the music I thought was really good. So I gave this one an A.
Nice.
Therek. Oh wait, let me get Cryptfox real quick.
Yeah.
Cryptfox, sound and graphics. Graphics of gear looked very laphic and didn't stick out to me. D.
Keeping it simple. Yeah, then I have basically some of the same stuff. The music is so good. I love how it was sort of reminded me of old MIDI music from the 90s. I just love that aesthetic. The tavern tunes, the high fantasy of the olden days. I really feel like this game, whoever did the music for this game really leaned into that, and I like that a lot. Playing our instruments together was super fun. I don't think any of us would disagree with that. I mean, the graphics have some nice moments. I remember when we were adventuring in the overland area and there was like, the giant stone hand sticking up out of the ground. I thought that was cool. I think there's some nice outdoor environment elements. But the graphics overall, they're a relic of the past. I mean, it looks like we made some comments during the game that if you remember EverQuest, this is what your memories look like, even though it's way better than EverQuest. But they do look pretty rough. The animations are kind of hit and miss.
it's older.
Yeah. I mean, the shuffle walk that we all got stuck in many times because the mobs never get off you. Like, I don't know, kind of rough. The and the UI is, I'll just mention the last thing being, it looks pretty amateurish, I would say. I like the layout, like the design. It has some good design elements, but just the overall look of it it wasn't like, it didn't inspire you to to make you feel like you're in a high fantasy game. It was just kind of plain for my tastes. But overall,
and maybe at this point, sorry to interrupt, but maybe at this point it's not even quite finished. Maybe it's not polished yet. I don't know what stage they're at in their development.
yeah,
It is a lot better than it was last time I was playing. So I don't think they're finished, but they have definitely done better compared to where they started.
yeah. And I don't think, I mean, unless I'm wrong, but I don't think they're aiming for any kind of AAA level graphics. They're not going even close to what Pantheon's going for. Like I think they're kind of content with having that old school look to them. So yeah, I would agree with you. I want to point out Draco Greyhawk in chat said Might and Magic music. And I said that on stream that it reminded me of
I
Might
love
and
Might
Magic.
Magic.
I know, it's so good, right? So the music helps. The music and sound helps my grade here, but the graphics hurt it, so I gave it a C+. And for Tetsu says, positives, the sound and music are nice. Player-made music is always a welcome thing, which is a good point. Negative, graphics are acceptable for the team size. After playing it for a bit and being immersed into the gameplay, these are easily overlooked. So yeah, good point there. Not graphics aren't everything. We know that, and I would agree. But it's just hard. It's hard in this day and age to be considered a serious game with, graphics that are a throwback, saying it nicely.
What did Tetsu give it?
Oh, he gave it a C+.
Nice. Nathan?
Yeah, I mean, just like everybody else, the music felt really old school. It felt nice to hear, and I also thought there was some pretty good sound effects in the game, especially when you consider the team size. There was a couple of immersive kind of sound effects that I thought was really good while I was playing it. I also can see that the graphics. I played it back when it first launched, and it is a big upgrade. And like I said, when we were playing it a couple times, was like back in 2017. This is what I expected Pantheon to look like, right? Like small team, didn't expect graphics to be a high priority. And I just feel like that Project Gorgon is, it's almost to a point where it's like bad graphics on purpose, right? At the same time, I can't sit here and give it an awesome grade just because you say you did on purpose or because you're old school and you got old school graphics, right? So even though I understand, and I do feel like in a way it's kind of a part of its charm. Still got to give it a C plus, just because it's not good, right?
I just realized that I'm the one that is the heavy EQ player, so that's probably the reason why I'm more forgiving.
He's like, it looks great.
I play with the old graphics,
Looks
so
fine.
This is an upgrade for Draq.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, but what isn't?
it's true. It's totally true. Stands in fire.
So I'm also like Draq. I am very much with you on the, graphics and sound. For me, it did fine. The lack of polish or high poly anything didn't really bother me. Partly because I know the scope and scale of the project that this team is working with, and I've seen it in several stages over time. So to me, this is coming back to Project Gorgon after several breaks over the years since the initial like post Kickstarter demos, and coming back and saying, "Wow, this looks amazing now. They've done so much work." So that's something where they've got a very consistent overall tone and aesthetic that they're generally using or trying to go for. And they're not trying to do more than I think their team is capable of right now. And I think that's probably a good thing for them. So that doesn't bother me at all. The thing that let me down was the functionality of the UI. I don't even care so much about the look of the UI as much as basic being able to pick mobs out in a group.
Yeah.
Being able to easily get my party members, selected or worked with, interact with NPCs. That was the knock for me. I'm fine if they stick with this aesthetic for a while, because I think it suits the tone of the game and it suits the resources that they have available, and not putting things in potentially expensive, low return buckets from a development standpoint. I give it a B minus. And if it was just on sound and graphics, it would have been higher than that. And also ran so much stabler and used so much less system resources and jank than the last time I played this game. So the optimization is also really nice.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was going to mention that too. Just it feels like one of those games that runs very light. Like you can switch windows, like you can have like multiple things running at the same time, and this game does not.
It did not
care.
used to.
Yeah, I don't know about used to, but it certainly doesn't compared to other stuff. It's like it's easy peasy.
Yeah. It used to be a fragile game engine, shall we say? Like a couple wrong clicks and crash. I didn't crash once.
Yeah. No, it felt really good, because like I hate it when you're playing games and you window out, or you click on other stuff, or you bring stuff, and then you have like the black screen, and it takes like 5 minutes to get like repixelate. No, there was none of that. It ran almost like it was a browser game smooth. It was super smooth.
Yeah,
browser game.
So I love seeing the progress that it's made from the beginnings to where it is now. So that also might color my perspective.
Cool. Sparoh.
Pretty standard to me. For the graphics, I didn't mind that it had that old school feel. I kind of went into it expecting that. So it didn't disappoint. It was what I expected it to be. Nothing stood out to me as super, super good or horrible. I liked the nature sounds, the music, the singing, the instruments, all that stuff brought a lot of fun and immersion into it. I gave it a B minus, and with combat sounds too. There was nothing that was like overly repetitive or aggravating in the combat sounds. So
Right.
yeah,
That's a good
I liked
point.
it.
We started at least 2 or 3 streams where we just sat in town and just like
Mhm.
hung out with dancing bears and spiders, which was kind of weird, but it was just fun to just hang out with people by the well and just as more people were playing music, that it added more sounds into the song. So I thought that was a really cool component of Project Gorgon.
Yeah, I ended up. I said more about that in the immersion part of it,
Right.
because that really made you feel part of the world with other players.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and don't forget that this is the game we took more screenshots in than any other game we've played so far.
Oh yeah,
That is a good point.
Wow.
Story.
That tells you something.
I think that a lot of that was just the exploration piece of it. We haven't
Right.
played an MMO that really like I felt like you explored. Like we didn't know where we were going. We just headed north. Like when's the last time we did that? I have no idea.
Right.
Pick a direction and go. Let's see what's there.
Yeah, because we
Yeah,
didn't
I
know
know.
anything. So we just like we're like, okay, we're going this way. Let's see what's over there. Oh,
and we
there's a
always
cave.
found something.
Yeah, we did.
Hmm.
All right, let's move on to the money, cash shop, and monetization. For me, I mean, this is for me, it's almost too good a deal. I really think it's too good a deal. I think they need to up the box price or they need to have a small sub. I mean, this is a good game, a solid MMO, and they are giving it away. I think I got it for $25.
Yeah, you got it on sale.
I got it on sale for $25 on Steam, and man, that's a steal. I have paid full box price $60 and then paid a sub for for much worse games.
For games that did not hold you like
that
this.
did not hold me. No, I don't know. I mean, maybe the box price gets people in. I don't know. I'm assuming they're making money on this thing, but for me, it seems a little low. Like they have a quality product, and I would pay more. So for me, it's and there's no pay to win nonsense. There's no cash shop. I don't open the game. It's not breathing down my neck. Like none of that. I think there was like some horses or something that maybe they just
there is one,
but
Yeah,
whatever.
I've got notes on that in mine.
Whatever.
So-
I don't really care. Like I just ignored that, and it was not a big deal. I think it was maybe on the login screen, maybe, but it wasn't in the game. It wasn't in front of me. It wasn't Lotro that just like I had to close one window and then another one would pull. I was playing whack-a-mole with pay to win windows. So I think it's a great deal. I think if you love MMOs, you should go pick it up because of its just value. So I gave it an 80 plus. Cryptfox. A. There wasn't a cash shop.
Enough to-
Yeah.
Short and sweet.
yep. Yep. So for me, same thing. Simple and easy. Buy to play. Love it. Fairly priced. I mean, like you said, Draq, it's fairly priced for sure. Even if there was a sub, and I think somebody in chat said there was, you can sort of like opt into it. It just gives you a couple extra bag space or something like that. If I was invested in this game, I'd probably buy it. I'd probably sub to it because I think that option is a nice way to support the game. They've somehow made it sustainable, at least at this point in their development. So that's awesome. And there's no advertising, no nonsense. That's all I need. So A+, just keep it simple, make it's a game. That's what we're here for, not for crazy, microtransactions. And for Tetsu says he gave it a B+. Box price keeps out the riffraff. No cash shop and an optional non-pay-to-win subscription is nice. Then the negative, no subscription slows down development and investment into the game itself. So yeah, I guess that's unique to a games in development in terms of how they're marketed, at that time in their lifespan, I guess. But yeah.
Nathan?
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, a lot of what you guys said. I mean, it does have a cash shop, but I tell you what, it was not very intrusive, right? And a good example of that is that earlier we were complaining about a few of us was complaining about bag space, and they do offer an option where, like Bounty was saying in chat, where if you pay the monthly sub, it helps with bag space. But the game is so like non-intrusive that we didn't even know that, right? Like imagine any other MMO would have been like, "Oh, I see your bags are full." Got
Click
this
on that
special
little
going on
button
right now.
Click.
Right?
What you would say.
For a
So I
mere
think there's a-
$49.99, we can help you out with that.
Yeah. So I feel like even though they, once again, it's a very low price to get in, to start playing, and actually you can try that demo island, which is a big bunch of content at no price at all. And then you've got subscription, which is totally normal, and then you got a pretty non-intrusive cash shop. The only reason I didn't get a perfect score is because I'm not backing down. Cash shops are evil. Don't care. So I give it an A. No A plus because you got a cash shop, but very well maturely handled.
Perfect. Mr. Sands and Fire?
Yeah. So there are a couple of cash shop things like people have said. There's the VIP membership, which is very fairly priced, averages at like $12 a month. So I think that's the primary, hey, I want to help fund development. It's a very minor cost. It's not pay to win. It gives you, I believe, 15 extra inventory slots on your character's main inventory and 2 more character slots, as I recall. So it's a couple of other minor benefits, but it is not a hard line between those who pay and those who don't. It is a $40 box price for a game that is still in early access and in active development. Like that's a little high for an early access, but I think it's very fairly priced for the state the game is in right now. There are actual cash shop packages if you go to their website where you can buy equipment for your mount to do things like make it go faster. I believe be able to carry more, have faster decay of its fear, things like that. But all of those come with also some months of the VIP depending on which bundle you're buying. So it's not just straight buying your horse equipment. It's buying some stuff for your horse and 3 or 4 months of VIP along with it. And they're upfront about that, saying this money here is you giving us the money to help fund development. They're very clear about that. And like people said, there is a demo that you can go and play a good chunk of the game for free. I gave this an A-. It's really solid. The only thing is that it's a little weird that there are so many different ways to give an early access project recurring money, but I think they're doing it in a fair way.
Sparoh?
I didn't even notice there was any way to pay them any kind of money. So if it's there, it was not in my face. It wasn't saying, hey, here's some bag space, pay this money, or for a mount or some cosmetic. None of that was there. So A+ from me.
Yes. I thought it was one of the highlights of the game for sure. And I never felt at any point that my $25 was not well spent. I thought it was great.
Yeah,
So-
getting it on sale was huge. I mean,
Even at full
not
price,
that
it's a good deal.
No, at
Yeah.
full price, it's a great
Yeah.
deal. Because there's no sub, so you get it forever. So yeah, I would not. If you like MMOs, dude, just get it and try it. It's fun.
Give it a try. Yeah.
Yep. Lore immersion. So I think we all know that I'm not the lore guy. I tend to sometimes skip, especially in games where it's all walls of text, right?
Yeah.
But some of it too is just like, for the lore that I like is the lore of like the world, right? Where it's not just I'm not just reading and clicking through tests, but I feel like there's some kind of story. And so some of it had a story, right? Where we've talked about the quest where we went to the red orb thing, and then like we had to find, what did we have to find? I don't remember what it was.
We had to find the head, like a head of darkness or
A
something.
head
like
of darkness, right?
Yeah.
And then we got to like the bottom of this dungeon, and then there's like a mob there, and I'm like, whoa, that's gonna be the head of darkness, and it like made sense in my mind. That's the type of lore and that's the type of immersion that I like, where it's like they don't give you the answer, they don't give you a question mark and then give you an X on the map, but like I get the quest and it's like rolling around in my mind, and then like later on I'm like, oh, that makes total sense. And so I thought they did that really, really well. And so that part sucked me in. The part that was kind of negative for me was that, like, I didn't feel like there was an overarching story of any kind whatsoever. Like, there was no, like in EverQuest, it felt like, okay, we got the dragons, we got the gods, they're all in conflict, and, like, we're kind of weaving in and out of that, right? But or you know, wow, there's Arthas and the sword and whatever, right? But with there was nothing like that for this. It was just kind of like, oh, here you go. Wait, you're on an island. Have fun. I mean, and I don't want a direct like line to like, here's the story and this is what it is. But I need a little something. So overall, what did I give it? I gave it a B. Pretty good. I don't like being led around, and it definitely didn't do that. And it had some world stuff that I thought was really cool for the immersion piece.
Yeah, when you're talking about overall story arc, by the way, just to clarify.
Right. Yes,
I just
overall
want to say
story.
that I already know that he did not mean that he wants to log in and be like, welcome, Draq, the hero of the world wizard.
No.
That's not what he meant.
No. And I don't want it to be like, okay, this is the story. Here's you as part of the story, the hero of the world. No, I don't want that. But I need something. I need some kind of story with the world that evolves as I go to different zones, right? And so
Did it even explain why we even were on that island?
No.
I don't.
Yes.
There was
Did
no,
it? Okay.
we were just on an island. Yeah, it did.
That's from my perspective.
There was not a lot of explaining with this game.
There was some amnesia involved. There's some
Okay,
amnesia
sure,
involved.
yeah.
As in every single game ever made.
Cryptfox, it got a D for Cryptfox. Walls of text couldn't pull me into the immersion of the game. It did have some walls of text.
It definitely did.
Therek, this is
All right,
a good one.
Yeah, here we go. So I like what you said, Draq. There is a ton of world information. I love it when games give me information about cultures and cities and places with histories. The game has interesting locations, and you know, the first dungeon we did, I mentioned earlier, we had a story. We found bits and pieces of it while we were going through it. But the same thing that happened in that dungeon is what I'm going to say in my negative piece here. And let's just say the rhinos. I'll just leave it at that for now. The other thing that happened is we found languages. We learned them slowly. That's super cool. The artwork in the world. You know, we could become an art history skill major in this game, which is amazing. It's so entrenched and immersed with the art or with the lore of the game. I love that. You know, you mentioned Sparoh, the NPCs, you know, hanging out with people. They all had their own interests, the things they liked, the requests. And then, like you said, the hanging out piece was done poorly, but that's a feature that I like because I think it like brings you into like, these are the people living in the world and you can spend time with them when you're not there. To me, that's part of the lore that really hooks me. You know, some of the items had really descriptive text on them, which, you know, playing Elden Ring right now is really speaking to me as to a good way to convey the lore. So I love that piece. The problem is with this game is that it's all refuted, if not invalidated, by the silliness of it and the fact that I don't feel like I can invest myself in the lore of this game because let's say I'm doing some long, drawn-out storyline quest piece that I'm really into. At the end of the day, I'm worried that it could just be the result will be like, oh, why did this happen? Well, because there's a magical unicorn and that's why. That makes me nervous that the game's going to do something like that because it doesn't take itself seriously, and the humor is tied in with how the lore is sort of given to you. So it's given to you in this sort of jokey way that a game has to take itself a little more seriously for me to take it seriously. So it feels like a bummer when, you know, they've got these cool ideas and this really effort that's gone into making the writing for the game kind of gets joked out of existence a little bit, you know, if that makes any sense. And I'm not against like humor at all. Like I like quirkiness and I like some, you know, lightheartedness, I guess. But this game goes way too far with it. Because, and like you were saying, Sparoh, the even the sexual part of it is kind of like, it's cringy, man. Like it just it's not what I'm looking for in a high fantasy game. And you know, you can do violence, you can do adult themes, you can do swearing. I don't care about any of that stuff. It's fine. But when it's done in the service of a greater purpose, not just because we're computer nerds who play MMOs, like that's what this game feels like. It almost feels like it's making fun of you for liking the game a little bit. And maybe I'm being harsh, but this is my area. This is the part that gets me riled up more than any of the other things. So I have to be harsh on it for this because it just doesn't work for me. So I gave it a grade. I cheated a little bit. I gave it a dual grade. I gave it an A/an F because it's awesome, but it's also futile. So I hate to say that, but you know, I really think that a game that I'm going to be into is got to take itself a little more seriously than this. So yeah, rant off. What did Tetsu say? He said lighthearted and fun, decently written storylines, dungeon statuses affecting you long after the run is over, make it so you know full and well that where you were and what happened during your adventure, and saying that that's like an atmospheric effect. He really likes that. The downside is nothing quite seems very epic. So yeah, I feel that one. So yeah, that's where we landed.
As you're saying all that, all I can think of is Leisure Suit Larry. I don't know if any of you guys ever played that game.
I played the hell out of Leisure Suit Larry. I
But
love
it was
Leisure Suit
meant
Larry.
to, but the whole thing was meant to be that way.
Totally
So that's
Leisure Suit
different.
Larry. It's just like,
Yeah, it does have that same humor though. Yeah,
It
but
totally does.
randomly.
just like a little bit
Randomly.
like over the line sexually, but not like really over the line, and just like
Yeah. Well, and I found Leisure Suit Larry super funny when I was 14.
yeah, right.
You know, like you know, if you're 14 playing Project Gorgon, maybe you think it's funny, but it just doesn't. The jokes don't land.
Mr. Nathan Napalm.
Yeah, well, that's going to be hard to follow up with because I wasn't thinking of that angle. But
There's no change in your grade now, Nathan.
I'll stick with what I thought initially, which was my gut, which is that, you know, I felt like the immersion was pretty good overall. I mean, I really we'd get into it and I kind of get into it and I was having some fun. Things would get serious and I'd be honed in and having fun. And I think that they did a good job. But I will say that here's what I caught off of the lore. I thought there was tons of it, right? Like you can talk to all these people and there are all these items and there's all this stuff going on and they're interconnected in all these different ways to the skills and abilities and everything kind of has a reason. So it's not like, oh, you can heal. There's a reason why you can heal and all these kind of things. So I felt like the lore was pretty good. My only complaint before Therek brought those kind of things to my brain was that I noticed that it just felt like everything's concentrated, right? Like the lore is in the town or it's in that building. But like when you're out in the world, not dungeons, but when you're just, the world's just kind of empty with some mobs in it. Like the lore, it's like you go, the place where the lore should be, which is the actual world. It was like, this is just for killing mobs. Forget about it here. And I know there were some examples of it not being that way, but man, it overall, like, grossly, that's definitely what it was like, you know. So that was the only real kind of problem I had with it. So I give it a B+ for that reason.
That's a really good point. I didn't even think of it, but yeah, that's a really good point. Dan's.
So likewise, was pointing out in chat, and I was kind of starting to say when you said, you know, does anybody know why we're here? There is actually set up for some lore at the beginning, and I thought it actually did a pretty decent job there of giving you hooks to go out and investigate. Like, you know, hey, what's the deal with this, and why are these people reacting to me in this way? Over and above, oh, it's the amnesia trope. The problem I had was that from that point on, yeah, there are lots of little sprinkles of things and you can talk to NPCs. But after I left the island, nothing hooked me into that. Nothing was I want to find out more about that. That's cool. There was nothing that, landed a hook to reel me in. So I gave it a C. It has some solid foundations and there are lots of little pieces there. They did not come together as a whole for me.
Yeah. That's exactly right. It didn't connect, like it's just not there. I mentioned when I was saying my piece about the rhinos that the example I was using that as is like, like what is that? Like what is that? That doesn't make any sense. And
The rhinos made absolutely no sense whatsoever.
So
They're obviously just an asset pack available,
I don't know, man.
We got to the bottom of the mage tower and there were rhino pets. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Something wizard on the moon. I don't know.
Right. Yeah,
Space cats in
exactly.
space. Let's go. I don't know.
Exactly.
And Tetsu's reaction made it hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it
Yeah,
was
very
a
much so.
hilarious moment, but it was only hilarious because it was so weird.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
over time, that doesn't make a good MMO. It makes for great moments, but over time, I want, like you said, Therek, I want my MMO to take itself somewhat seriously. Like,
Yeah, man.
otherwise, it's just like, what
I'm
am I
gonna put thousands
doing?
of hours into this thing, and there's rhinos in the basement. I don't know, man. I can't do that.
Yeah, there was just so many decisions in the game where it really did feel like it's like this is like an idea I would come up with at like 4 a.m. and my wife would have to tell me it's a bad idea and go to bed,
Nathan, you ate one burrito too many to go to bed.
It needed an MMO mom in many areas. Speaking of the MMO mom, Sparoh.
I said good immersion, but lacking lore. And like was stated, it's not that there's no lore, but there's no cohesion and it feels compartmentalized. And when you're out in the world, you're not really thinking about the lore or that you're out there for some purpose. When you're out there, you're wondering what lore am I or quest or whatever am I going to stumble upon, but you're not driven really by that lore, if that makes sense. For immersion, this is where it got a good grade for me in the sense of the community, because it's all the dancing in town, the getting up your singing skills. They would have like poetry recitals and things. There was a ton of immersion when it came to that stuff. The events that they seem to have pretty regularly. So I went with a B, even though the lore isn't what I'm looking for, because I don't like I discussed before, the cringiness, the overly done cringiness. But I do like the immersion, the community, and the way it still seems to bring it all together, even with the other stuff.
Yeah, and I feel like cringe is getting a bad reputation on this show. We're talking about a very specific
Type of
kind
cringe.
of cringe that is.
Nathan's got his own brand of cringe. We're not talking about you, Nathan.
All right.
We're not talking
I don't
puppets.
smear.
We're not talking puppets and singing off key. That's you've got the market on that.
Puppet cringe is okay.
We're not horning into your territory here, Nathan.
Oh. All right. So last one before we give out some final grades. Fun. Dude, I had fun.
Mhm.
This was so much fun. I don't know. I played it solo probably more than any of the other MMOs we played in probably like a year and a half. I don't know. I even crafted. I know I didn't want to craft, but it was fun. So I crafted. And so I don't know why. But all the stuff together, there's a lot of elements I didn't like. On paper, this game was not something I should have liked, but all the stuff together, and like Sparoh said, the community is so much fun. I don't know where they're getting all these amazing MMO people, but they were helpful. We had guides helping us. We had the community helping us. We had people reaching out to us on Discord. I mean, oh my goodness, it was so helpful and so fun, like over the top. So we had a lot of fun with this game, and like 9 weeks, it's pretty good for us. So it was. I gave it an A- on fun. And The only thing that like the only drawbacks were just the grouping and the class stuff. So, but it was tons of fun. So Cryptfox, he gave it a C. Fun when grouped. When not grouped, it felt like a chore. There was some, to be fair, there was some choring when you were solo. Therek.
Yeah, the community really stands out for me on this game. None of the other games we've played that I've, experienced this type of community interaction. And I think this is like that town square mentality, literally and figuratively in this game, because we were standing in town square and that where we watched some cool, just people hanging out and doing fun things. I think Pantheon can actually learn from this game on how to achieve that. And I wonder if it's their business model, like we talked about with the cash shop and their how they've monetized this game. I think there's something to be said for that, because I think it encourages or facilitates this kind of a community mentality. I loved how it felt for us to be running around as a group when Draq had his horse and we were all hoofing it behind him. I thought that was fun. We have a good time with every game we play. But we had a really nice lighthearted mindset with this game, which, to the credit of the game, that is the spirit of it. So maybe that, again, is another win. And the other thing I'll mention is there was a GM and community events happening while we were playing this game. I think they had like poetry jams on Friday nights or something like that. That's crazy. And that brings people back and that addicts people to a game. So although, I don't know if it's had that effect on me personally, I think that it does in generally have that effect. So, I gave it a C+. Just a little bit of, it's not a game I'm going to play, long term, but I could see myself going back to it maybe one day and trying it again when they've moved along in their development cycle and see what's new with it. So, yeah. And for Tetsu says, where is it here? Lack of class. The positive is the world itself is intriguing with different biomes and places to explore, like the Goblin Casino. And then the negative is a lack of class prevents from aiming to be a better whatever the class would be. So it doesn't have that progression goal that we talked about a little earlier for Tetsu. So that's a negative. Gave it a D+.
Well, I would say that, basically, to be honest with you, it had enough EverQuest vibes in it for me to thoroughly say I was having fun immediately. The only times I wasn't having fun is when we weren't together and I had to play by myself, right? I really, really didn't like that. I would not want to do it. I would literally have to force myself to log on to level up, and I wouldn't, and it's not to say I was having a horrible time, but I just didn't want to. I just didn't like the solo of the game very much at all. So, but also I got to say that when we were playing together in group, I actually really looked forward to that. Like, I thought we were having a lot of fun. I liked exploring the dungeons. I liked that they were big and we were finding all these random little secrets. And, it's not even like we really were digging sometimes for stuff. So that the game, or at least that's how I felt, it must have a lot of stuff in it if we're just accidentally stumbling upon. So for addictability, I thought it was pretty addictive if you've got a group, right? And by the way the community acts, it looks like if you played that game, you would easily find a group of people to play with, etc. So that's worth mentioning when I say that as well. But overall, I liked it. I thought it was cool. I would play it again. Not by myself though. So B+.
Well, and I want to point out that of all the games we've played on this channel for this show, and Nathan, your highlight videos are good, but these ones were the best. These were the best highlight videos of all the games we played. And that tells you something not only about how awesome your content is on your channel, but how the game facilitates that, right?
Yeah, how we had a lot of fun. It showed, so it was
never
easy to get those clips.
as hard as watching those clips afterwards because they were so fun.
There were some gems that you came up with for those.
Yeah, and Mujin's saying something in the chat that I disagree with, because he says any game can be fun with a group of friends. It's not necessarily true. We have played 15 MMOs with this MMORPG 101, and there have been some where I've been like, get me out of here. I want out now. Like, this is not fun. The grouping is not fun. None of it is fun, and I do not like this. There
were games so bad that we played that I won't name no names, but there's been some so bad that I would just be like, God, please let something happen and we can't play tonight, and we just decide to move on to another game. Like, or I'd be like, gosh, I wish we could just, I want to hang out with everybody, but not doing this crap, So it's true most of the time.
It does help. It is a definite help if you have friends that go in with it, but it's not necessarily the 100% guaranteed rule.
Right.
Stands and Fire, fun, addictability.
So Bounty Code was saying in chat that the game is the whole is better than the sum of its parts. And I think for a lot of people that is absolutely true of Project Gorgon. For me, it feels like the opposite. And I will 100% say this is a me and my taste in games thing, much more than it is the game itself. Because the game had a lot of pieces I like, but they just didn't come together in an engaging game that I want to keep logging into and playing as it stands right now. It just doesn't hook me, and that is absolutely okay. Once again, not every game has to hook everybody and, be that thing. I love that the game exists. I am absolutely happy that I gave them money. I don't know how many years back at this point. Because again, I kickstarted this game when it came out, and I don't even remember what level I pledged at, but I know it was when they were just scraping into development. And I love that it is still here. I would be very sad if it went away. It's just not for me. So I gave it a D- because it was a chore for me to play unless it was us goofing off and telling jokes while we were killing things.
All right, Sparoh?
Kind of the same sentiment where I did not find this game addictive. Like, I wouldn't say I couldn't log off, or I was looking forward to that next thing. It wasn't addictive to me, but it was fun when we were together. And I don't think just because we're friends hanging out. I think it's also because the game is made more for grouping, which is what we're kind of hoping for Pantheon. So I think that kind of makes sense that we had more fun grouping, exploring, finding out what crazy thing is going to pop up in the next corner. So I gave it a B+ for that, because I did have a lot of fun, even though I wasn't wanting to log in on my own.
All right.
One time I didn't. I would like to mention I hated it so bad by myself that one time I was like, I'm not going to do it. I'm gonna see if I can. I'm gonna see if I can.
Yeah, and boy, did it show that week.
That week was rough. There's some interesting tanking that week.
Yeah,
We had the double healers rolling that week.
they're like sweating. That cracked me up. Like how brutal that was.
His house was just like bouncing up and down.
Who has a heal off cooldown, please?
Oh my goodness.
All right. Overall, great time. Yeah, I mean, I've already said it. I'll say it again. I can't believe that I like this game as much as I do. If I did not have a hard and fast rule of I can only play Monday nights on the with the EQ guys, and whatever the MMO 101 is playing, that is like a hard and fast rule in my life, because they can't be overwhelmed with MMOs. I would totally play this game as a regular thing, but I just can't. I just don't have that type of time in my life. So I gave it an A- as an overall, which is one of the highest grades that I've given.
Yeah, wow.
Any MMO. I think it's on par with EQ2 for me, which I played a lot of and really love. So I'm shocked. I would have never guessed I would have given it this high grade, and I had a great time with it, and it has been totally worth every minute of it. So yeah, for me it was loved it. Let's go with Cryptfox. He gave it a C. Fun when grouped, would not group. Oh no, he just gave it a C. Sorry, that was the fun addictability. He didn't put anything down. So Therek.
Okay, yeah. I mean, so this game feels like it's got a lot of good ideas. and most of them are sort of half-baked. I think, Stans, you sort of summarized it well there. I see what they're going for. I know it's not fully realized yet. I'm glad that this game exists. Again, Stans, I think you said it well. Games like this need to be out there. It does feel like an amateur game. It doesn't feel like a retail grade type of game. And not every game needs to be, I'm not talking AAA. I'm not talking about like, superstar mega developer. I'm talking indie developers are fine and important. And, this is a game that really resonates with Pantheon. I think it should resonate with Pantheon fans because there is a very much a parallel type of journey here going on. And I think they've taken a different approach. And I wouldn't say it's the better approach. I think indie teams can make professional grade games. And I think this is an example of an independent developer not really aiming for that level of, overall glossiness, I guess, or overall polish. Project Gorgon's not going to move the genre forward. Like, it's definitely not. It's not going to rekindle old classic MMO design, even though it could. I think this is what happens when you try to sort of like remake a game in an image of a memory instead of having like a different vision for the future. So I think that hurts it a little bit. We had fun. I don't want every game to be the same, and I love that there's variations out there. I think that the community here really is the primary reason to play this game. I think with the cool people we met in our time playing it really does a lot for it. And every time I hear people talk about, make Pantheon, just make Everquest with upgraded graphics, I'm gonna think of Project Gorgon now. So it really hit me, that it really impacted me in that way. So if that's what you're looking for, cool. I think I'm glad Pantheon has higher aspirations. I'll leave it at that. I gave it a B- overall. And Tetsu says they get a C or a C+ for effort. He just said if EverQuest and RuneScape had a baby, that's the only comment. So,
that's good.
Yeah. There you go.
Nathan?
Well, I would say that EverQuest and RuneScape already had a baby, and it was the game that the developers are from. And I think that was the core audience. And it's a little, we're kind of coming at this like from this weird angle because we didn't play Asheron's Call to my knowledge anyway. I know I didn't. I knew it existed and was just like, oh, that's that other MMO that's weird. And I'm just being honest.
Yes,
that's the way I thought of it, right? And I could have been wrong, but I don't think I was now that I played Project Gorgon. So I think that we aren't their exact target audience. So some of the stuff that we're just kind of put off by, I think, is like that the Asheron Calls like kind of throwback to that. I think that's what I feel like is true. I've been told that by people before. But yeah, I think it's a good game, and I think that it's for what how small that development team is. I think it's pretty freaking amazing. Actually, it's actually super impressive, and that's how they can do things right, like not screw you over in the cash shop and all these kind of things. Is because they keep that development team so small they can afford to keep everybody on a living wage. I doubt these guys are rolling around in giant bank accounts or anything. So they're keeping themselves afloat and doing what they love, and they produced a good product. So I'm impressed with it. Overall, it's not something I could play all the time. I could return to it every once in a while. I can totally respect it, though. So I gave it a B.
Dan's?
Most of what I would say here is going to echo, honestly, a lot of what Therek said and a lot of what Nathan said. So I'm just going to go ahead and say, yeah, overall, the game comes together as a very rough but charming C. Like, it's not the game for me, and it's not necessarily even the direction, but games like this need to exist.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that it's like, I think it feels like I need more, I need more than this game has to offer,
Sparoh?
I had a lot of fun in the game, even though I didn't feel compelled to play it, it is a game I could see myself just to putz around, hop in, and play. I had a good time. I'm giving it a B plus. I think I got my money's worth. I think they're doing a great job. It isn't finished yet. I'm definitely willing to come back and see, as time goes by, where it's at. It's interested me. So I can see myself coming and playing some more.
Nice. We do have a contingent of people that are staying in Project Gorgon. So if that's your jam and you want to try it out and you haven't tried it out yet, I know a bunch of us are probably not going to continue with it. But we did suck a bunch of people into this game as we went along. A bunch of people tried it because we were showing them the game, and there's a contingent. I know of at least 4 or 5 people that are still going to continue to play. Daimlos is in chat right now. He's got way more time on his hands than I do, so he is continuing. And him and Marks and Random Rob, they're 3 of those guys are running around playing in their off EQ time. So there's a couple more people that are playing too. So definitely, if you want to get involved, there's people in the Pantheon Plus community that are still doing that, still playing. So if you haven't missed the boat, there's still people around. So that's a wrap. Project Gorgon in the books. I will post the grading sheets on Twitter. And everyone can put their 2 cents in on that. But and we are at about 2 hours, so it's almost perfect timing. Before we say our goodbyes, maybe we should promo what MMO we're going to do next. Nathan Napalm, would you like to do the honors there?
Yeah, sure would. We're going to do a game that listen, here's the deal, guys. I know that sometimes you have to do an MMO that nobody's heard of, right? You knew it was going to happen one day. So we are going into a really kind of bizarre territory here because we're kind of running out of things to do, etc. So we're going to try this game that nobody in the community's ever tried, which will make it more interesting. Okay, so just bear with me for a minute as I do this announcement. We're going to be playing Everquest. It's this old game that came out in 1999. Well, you'll see. We're going to show you what it is. I know none of you know anything about it, so we'll be doing that. Oh, it looks like a couple of people in chat have heard of it.
What is Quest Ever? Is that what it's called? I'll have to look into that one.
It is pretty amazing that we've gone this far and gone through so many MMOs, and we've never done the granddaddy of them all, EverQuest. So we decided it was time. We're going to have to plunge into that, and we actually have people in the MMO 101 who's where EverQuest was not their game. They didn't do it on launch. They've maybe played it, but not that much. And so it's going to be a new experience for some of the people on the MMO 101. And so that's going to be super interesting to get their take and what they feel about it, and not just all us old EQ vets that have been playing the same game for 20 years. So
have we landed on which version?
I think everybody's good with the sub. So I think we're going to go with Yelnek, which is the new TLP. I think it's going to be super fun because that's like the original EverQuest experience with not like the P99 nonsense. Not that it's nonsense, but it's more difficult. It's going to be a lot slower.
Wizen just called you out in chat, Draq, by the way.
Bounty just unsubbed, I think.
Sorry.
No.
I love all my P99 people.
Wizen, I'm glad you said it because I love bringing up all of the pre-games whenever anybody says it's the granddaddy. It's the no. It codified many concepts that we now use going forward.
Listen, I'm the original EQ nerd.
Yeah, it would have never took off with that EverQuest. So EverQuest, Wizen will definitely let you know anytime you try to say that what about Meridian 59, right? Because it was a 3D.
What about Ultima Online?
Come on, man.
Ultima Online, I always mention that, though. I'm always like, well, technically Ultima Online's first. We don't know which one started development first, though, so we don't really know, but they knew about each other, and Ultima released first. But technically, Meridian 59 is, it's hard to argue that one. So I'm going to cover that one in a video. But the only reason that people skip over that one is because it did not become this event, right? It didn't catch on. So Everquest did. It did things.
It's first versus first breakout success.
There you go. Right.
EverQuest
It's
shaped
kinda like,
the
you know,
landscape.
have you
Yeah,
guys ever tried to look into the rabbit hole of what was the first, like, trying to look 3-dimensional game? Oh, that's going to take you so down the rabbit hole. It is crazy. I did
Yeah,
it one
if
time.
you
It's
really
nuts.
want to go down the MMO graphical rabbit hole, look into the original Neverwinter Nights.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, exactly. I know
Yeah,
about
gold
that.
box
Yeah, I
game,
know
yeah.
about that.
No, not Goldbox. This
No.
was
This
yeah,
was a mud, basically, is the best way to
Oh,
describe
okay.
it.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
more or less, and it was on AOL. You paid by the hour
It
to
was?
play.
Oh my
It was
goodness.
AOL
Oh my
only.
God. It was AOL only. That's
Oh
right.
my goodness. Okay, so we are going to take off here, but before we go, let's go around the room and see what everybody's doing this week. Therek, what do you got going on this week?
What do we got going on this week? Nothing in particular other than the rewind on Sunday as usual. Me and Desmond will be back for episode number 104. We're going to be talking about the developer roundtable that's going to be released from VR on Friday to the public. So we'll deep dive into that thing and talk about that. So join us Sunday at noon on our Pantheon Plus YouTube channel for the premiere.
Mr. Nathan Napalm?
Yeah,
Mr.
so I've got a
Full-time?
lot. I've got a lot going on because I'm full time, so we don't have to get into all that. I'll be doing all kinds of crazy crap all the time. But here's what I want you to pay attention to. There's one thing I want everybody to pay attention to. Saturday night, okay, 11 p.m. Central, 12 a.m. Eastern. You'll want to come over to my channel real quick. It's a live show, okay? A lot of pre-curated content, an hour long of wild, crazy Nathan Napalm puppets craziness. That's what actually I was late to this show because I was filming some things for it. But we want to come. It's called the Cringe Pony TV. It's going to be every Saturday night. You get a new 1-hour episode. And
Oh, nice.
eventually, each week another hour. It's going to pile on, and eventually it'll be like a late night thing that happens more than just Saturday once I get enough content. But every Saturday I will premiere a new episode, and each quarter of a year will be a season. And here's the cool thing about Cringe Pony. It will seem random. Okay, it's going to seem super random. But actually, each individual skit is like a show, right? So there'll be a follow-up to that in the next episode. So all these little... It's hard to explain. You just got to come check it out. It's going to be
Nathan,
super
are you
crazy.
creating in-world Nathan Napalm lore?
Yes, I am. That's exactly what I'm doing. It
That's
breaks
what I'm
the
here
fourth
for, man. I
wall.
love that.
It goes into...
Jeez.
I just can't even describe it. You just got to be there. It's nuts. And I want to say one more thing. Sorry, I'm taking too long. Don't kick me off the show for it. What I really want to stress, though, is like that this was an idea that culminated from various members of the community. Sparoh's definitely a big part of it. Bounty Code, lots of people. So just want to say that this has been cooking for a long time. I just never had the time to do it until now.
That's
Awesome. Sparoh?
I'm streaming 3 different nights a week now on my Twitch channel. So if you want to check out either P99, Lord of the Rings Online, and we're starting up this week on World of Warcraft Classic. So come check it out.
Awesome. And I have just put up this morning our 20-minute version of our 16 hours and 15 minutes leveling process from No Sleep Till 40 video. You should definitely go check that out on YouTube. And also, probably tomorrow, we'll have this video out. So if you joined late or you only caught part of it, this whole grading video, we put the grading videos in their entirety on YouTube. So that will be up on YouTube tomorrow. You'll be able to see the whole thing. And make sure you leave a comment. Make sure you tell us where you agreed with us, where you did not.
How wrong we are.
How wrong we are.
Yes, everybody should go check out Draq's condensed leveling. It was a blast to watch that. I actually watched that earlier today, Draq. The pucker was real.
The pucker is real. All right. Yes, as Mina Mina said, Pantheon Plus, you only use footage when you were actually contributing to the group. That's 100%. There was only 20 minutes of the 16 hours.
And that was stretching it.
The original plan was a 1-hour video. He
Yes.
just could not find
And there was
60
not
minutes.
that much.
Oh,
That's good. That's good.
Well, thank you everybody for coming tonight. We really appreciate it. And we will see you next week in EverQuest. Have a great night, everybody. Wave bye-bye to the people.
Night, guys.
Later.
The people.